Okay, so I'm going to reflect on chapter 2 of the very short introduction dyslexia book, which has been really great. There's a lot of firsts for me. It's the first time I'm doing this in the basement. It's the first time I'm doing this on my computer. It's the first time I'm using the live stream option, and it's the first time I took notes. Usually I just flip through, so no promises that this will be that good. But anyways, I read the second chapter of the dyslexia textbook, which I'm really liking. It's kind of ironic. I'm listening to it while I'm reading it. I guess that's not ironic, but I'm using a tool um, that my students with dyslexia would use, and it's incredible how much it helps. So, anyways, this chapter just shares a lot of frameworks about how we learn to read, and it's chock full of key terms like phoneme, which is like the smallest sound of a word. So, like, think of pit or bit, the p sound. It's a phoneme. Graphemes, which are like the actual letters or the words or the writings on the page. Decoding, which is like turning written forms into sound, spoken sounds. That's what decoding is. Phonemic awareness, the conscious control of language. Fluency, moving from alphabetic to orthographic stages. So smoothly going from the text to the sound to the meaning. And then this idea of like top down or bottom up. Top down meaning using context and understanding to gain comprehension, and bottom up meaning using decoding and phonemes to gain understanding. This triangle model I thought was pretty neat. I wish I probably could share this, but anyways, if you're trying to find the meaning of a word, you can imagine a triangle with context, orthography, and phonology around it, all kind of working to find a meaning. So phonology meaning the sound of the word, orthography meaning the printed word, and context. The sound and print on the bottom, context on the top. That's where you get the top-down, bottom-up kind of model. And this is the triangle model of reading from Seidenberg and McClelland, 1989. Talked a lot about spelling. He said it's been the Cinderella of reading research, and I don't actually understand that metaphor, but maybe I'll think of that later. One point that I thought was really interesting is that spelling is often thought of just the opposite of reading. So if you can read, you can spell, and if you can spell, you can read. But the big issue with that way of thinking is that it's much easier in English to decode sounds from words than it is to decode words from sounds. So what I mean by that is when you read a word, the example they give is the sound k, the k sound. The letter k is almost always read as that k sound, except for when it's silent. Whereas in spelling, that k sound could be a k, it could be a c, it could be a ck. So it's easier to read the word than it is to spell the word, basically, which makes a lot of sense, but I'd never thought of that before. It was pretty interesting. They talked about common spelling errors that children make, and how if you analyze those errors, a lot of times you can see whether they're making phonologically correct errors or not, and those can be some early indicators. And that there's some really common early spelling errors, and they all totally make sense. Like saying cap instead of clap, or tep instead of step, or dropping letters like BLOON for balloon, which I think is interesting in this day of like apps and things. There's all these. I can't think of an example right now. Tumblr, right? BLR instead of the ER. And I don't know what that is or why that is, but it's just a thing. Some more views of reading. The simple view of reading. I love this. I love this title. The simple view of reading is the idea that reading comprehension, understanding of what you're reading, is the product of decoding and language comprehension. So if you have language comprehension and decoding, then you have reading comprehension. Which I don't think they comment on, how accurate that view is. It's just interesting that that's the simple view of reading. Like, if you know what words mean and you can decode them, then you're a reader. Um, a slightly different perspective is this lexical quality hypothesis, which is thinking about all the different parts of reading and the system that would make a fluent reader. And yeah, lexical efficiency is central to that, which would be the ability to identify words as well as spell and meaning, pronunciation, kind of doing everything at once, I guess. The Matthew effect is really interesting. Um, it just is pretty much that in the long term, poor um, if you're a poor reader, you're going to gain little pleasure from reading, and then you're going to read less, and then you're going to be exposed to less words, and you're going to have lower literacy. It's called the Matthew effect. So yeah, that's the thing I think about a lot as a teacher. What is the balance between being able to read and wanting to read, and where is the correct balance with that? I've seen as a teacher of quite a few students with dyslexia that audiobooks are a great way to um, help these students still love story, and kind of work in through the back door all of the decoding work and those pieces that they need to do. Um, or sometimes they just listen to books. Um, what else is going on here? They had a lot about different languages, which is really neat. Different complexities of language, different complexity of rules, different complexity of symbols. And a lot of this research is about English. It's very Anglo centric, and so they analyzed quite a bit of that. Um, one thing, one of the big findings was that while there are a lot of different demands in reading, there seems to be these three main requirements. This triple founding: symbol knowledge, so knowing what the symbols are in your language; phonological awareness, so knowing how the sounds work, I guess, and how your language works; and then rapid naming, so being able to recognize these things at a good pace, seem to be universal indicators for weak or strong literacy. There are other crucial predictors in different languages. They give the example of in Chinese, the awareness of the morphological structure of words is very important. And in the more visual, complex writing systems, the visual strengths, I guess, are more important than in English. Yeah. And then they ended by talking about writing as well, like dyslexia as a writing language order, and how those things go hand in hand quite a bit. Poor letter knowledge uh, will also be poor writing knowledge, and that these are pretty, they go hand in hand. So there you go. My big reflection, as often as with these things, is I love learning more, but I'm still like, okay, great, what do I do? And I think the next few chapters in this book give some suggestions, and I've learned a lot about. Okay, well, make sure that you, if students don't know the phonemes or don't have phonological awareness, then you start there, and yeah, I guess I'm just in a place of um, really. So what's the saying? Chewing at the bit, biting at the whatever it is. I just want to play with programs and start. Um, yeah, so that's where I'm at. Okay, well, there's my live stream. I'm gonna end it. I have a person watching. Who's watching this? Cool. Well, thanks for watching. I just wanted to see if this was an easy way to post, and I can't believe I have a like and a person watching. Cool.